Alright, hi everyone. This short video will be on explaining the monsoon wind and monsoon rain. Now, just to be familiar with this, just to recap this, monsoon winds and monsoon rains are similar, but the questions may ask for one or the other, in which case you actually don't need to write about both every single time. Okay? But you definitely need to know what monsoon wind is to be able to explain monsoon rain. So we begin with the very first one. What is monsoon winds? Now, monsoon winds are global winds that happen at different times of the year. It's driven by the different season that is experienced in the north and the south. So, in June, alright, now in June, the northern hemisphere will be experiencing summer, while the southern hemisphere will be having winter. Okay, so what happens is, imagine if there's an equator over here. Right now, northern hemisphere will be summer, southern hemisphere will be winter. How does this affect wind? I'm sure you already are familiar with this, but nevertheless, a quick recap. What happens at summer is air is warm, expands, and rises, creates low pressure. In the south, cool air sinks, creates high pressure. Alright, so what happens therefore? If there is high pressure, low pressure, wind blows from high to low pressure. So far pretty straightforward. Just to bring up again, we have also the concept of Coriolis effect, where in the southern hemisphere it deflects to the left, in the northern hemisphere it deflects to the right. So the N shape will be something like this. Okay, in the southern hemisphere, wind deflected left, forming south east monsoon. Okay, in the north, wind deflects right, forming southwest monsoon. Okay, alright, so for those of you who are maybe not as familiar, or maybe you may have already slipped your mind, how do we get this name, southeast monsoon? It's because imagine right now you are sitting right here in Madagascar. To you, this is north, south, east, west. You feel as if the wind is coming from southeast. Wind is always named after where the wind comes from. Here on the other hand, if you're standing right here at the corner of India, you feel as if north, south, east, west, wind is coming from the southwest. Therefore, southwest monsoon. Alright, I hope this helps explain how the wind happens. Now let's try to apply it again in the context of December. Okay, in December, everything is the opposite. In the north, it will be winter. In the south, it will be summer. So, trying to imagine it again. Ooh, equator's too high. But, roughly. Northern hemisphere, winter. Cool air sinks, forming high pressure. Southern hemisphere is now summer. Warm air rises. So you create low pressure. So wind blow from high pressure to low pressure. In the northern hemisphere, if you realize, this will follow the same shape as this guy and this guy. In the northern hemisphere, it will deflect right, forming the north-east monsoon. On the other hand, in the south, it will deflect left, forming northwest monsoon. Okay, so these are the different steps that's needed when it comes to explaining monsoon winds. Number one, you need to tell me what's happening in the north. Number two, what's happening in the south, because you need to have both high and low pressure so that you can have wind blow from high to low pressure. And then after that, depending on question, if the question is talking about a country in the north, you tell me that it deflects right and it forms what type of monsoon. If it's in the south, deflects in what direction, and then after that, what type of monsoon. Depends on time of year. That means either explain one or the other. Okay, similar thing here. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Explanation of the winds is fairly predictable. If you look at this, explain what type of wind is blowing to the north and blowing to northern Australia in December. So this is June, this is December, we're talking about northern Australia over here. Okay, let's try to imagine the wind is blowing this way and then this way. So that means to them, they are experiencing the wind coming from here. Yeah. So you only need to explain in December what's happening in the northern hemisphere. Explain the wind and the explain the air pressure. Then southern hemisphere. Explain the air pressure. Then after that, how the wind happens from the high pressure to low pressure. And then after that, the Coriolis effect, because Australia is in the south, deflecting left to form, what wind is that again? The northwest monsoon. Okay, so this is all about wind, monsoon wind. Total 4 steps to explain. Now try to imagine in the context of rain. How do you have seasonal rainfall, one way or another? Think in the context of maybe say India right now. Okay, wind blowing in June, to them it would be in this direction. On the other hand, in December it will be this direction. Yeah, this direction. So let's go into it. December, wind will be blowing this way. Okay, December, wind, as you can see, blows over land. No moisture, thus dry season. On the other hand, in June, the wind is blowing this way. It's still within the northern hemisphere. So what happens is, in June, wind blows over the sea, thus causing rainy season. Okay, how do we know that for sure? Let's take a look. This is India. This is the climate graph. As you can see, in June, a few months actually, not just June, you can actually see rainy season. Yeah. On the other hand, let's go December, winds blows over land. So you can see in December all the way to January and February, there's actually no rain. So it's actually proven. Now imagine in the context the question asks, explain why the rainfall is distributed as such. Yeah, that means you need to be able to tell me about the monsoon winds. How is it formed? And then as a result, you need to then explain when wind blows over water, in June, or in this case June to August, it carries moisture and therefore rainy season. On the other hand, when wind blows over land, in December to February, therefore there is no moisture, resulting in dry season. So this is what happens when it comes to this kind of thing. Explanation, definitely there'll be a lot of marks set aside. So you need to be able to bring up the idea of monsoon wind, explain it first, and then after that show the effect on rain, because the question is asking about rainfall. But in the context where there isn't much marks, they just ask you about why is there high rainfall otherwise. Just need to generically bring up the idea of monsoon wind and whether or not they blow over water or blow over land. Yeah. So I hope this helps in your explanation, and if not, at the very least, I hope it helps you to recall how monsoon rain happens. Thank you.